Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday Night Live Sew and Chat. We are working on our Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt for fall 2025. This is the Under the Sea Puzzle Mystery, and I am working with the Marina colorway. So that is a collection of lovely batiks, and they were so nicely picked out and chosen for me by my friend Sean over at The Guy Who Sews. Cotton Cuts offered all of their ambassadors the chance to be kind of a secret Santa person and surprise some of the other folks participating in the Puzzle Mystery Quilt and choose their colorway. And I chose, I think it was Driftstone for Crystal at Crystal Heart. So visit her channel and see what she's working on. And Sean got the purple and pink colorway. I'm not sure what that one was called, but I am doing these lovely batiks, and you can see my clue number one. I save all the bags that the parts come in and put my finished clues in there because this is a puzzle mystery, not necessarily a block mystery. In some other mystery quilts that I've done, you make a bunch of, say, half square triangles or flying geese, and then later in the mystery process, you put those units together to make blocks. Cotton Cuts gives you the clues and you make just different sections of the quilt, not necessarily a 12 by 12 block. You know, we're making 6.5 by 18 rectangles and all sorts of different shapes. So it's been a lot of fun. This is the third project I've worked on with Puzzle Mystery Quilts from Cotton Cuts, and I'm really enjoying myself. And it is so good to see you, Zaza. Thanks for coming in. And let's see. Clue number two. We've got these beautiful kind of watercolor dots, and then the kind of floral print on this. So I'm going to set my storage box aside out of my way. And I always keep my fabric chart handy so that I can read the clues, because the clues come in black and white. Obviously, they have to have some kind of standard diagrams for all the dozen of colorways that they send out. And so you have to get good at remembering which fabrics are which. And we've got a really simple block unit to put together this time, because we just have a bunch of flying geese and flying geese on my brain. We have half square triangles and some 4 patches to put together. So I need to stay organized here. I can pretty much figure that those will go together if you're looking at my workspace camera. Now, one thing that we've noticed, those of us that are doing the Marina colorway, is that there are 2 different dotty fabrics, and I'm holding them up here to my camera. And this one, I tell it apart because the dots are closer together and the background is kind of yellow. And this is fabric F with those close together dots and the little bit of yellow blotchy in there. Fabric A, the dots are spread apart a little bit and the background is much whiter and brighter. So that's my fabric A. And F there. Okay, so I need, actually F comes first, and it pairs with my darks. So that's good. I'm going to line everything up here on my workspace. And then we have E and C. And then D is our watercolor, and it goes with the A. Okay, so that will be very easy to do my sets of, and I don't really need my rotary cutter because everything's pre-cut. Whoop, whoop. That's the best thing about cotton cuts is they do all the cutting for you. So especially if you are getting into any mobility issues, and I am actually going to bring this up with my doctor tomorrow because I have had elbow pain like you wouldn't believe on my right arm, which of course is the arm I use for my rotary cutting. And it gets really stiff and sore. I spend a lot of time on the computer for work, and I'm using my right hand on my mouse. And, I really have to stop and make sure I do some movements, those bicep curls, even if you don't have any weights there, or, just in and out there to keep that mobility in that elbow, even though it's a little tender. But I'm very appreciative that Cotton Cuts has done all of the cutting for me this time around. So let's get going here. Tell me what you are up to, what you are sewing today. I had a very fun and productive sew day with my mom over the weekend. I went down to my parents' house. And we both got quilt tops done. Yay! Zaza, I hope it sounds exactly like tennis elbow. And I bought a brace. I'm going to ask if I can get a referral for some physical therapy and see what they recommend. My daughter, who works in a physical therapy clinic, has not worked with any elbow rehab yet. So she can't help mom out yet. Maybe someday. But yeah, it cramps, puts a crimp in my style, cramps my style when I'm trying to pick things up and I forget that I had that uncomfortable sensation. But yeah, not having to cut makes it very easy. And again, you can do most of these units or something very similar with your AccuQuilt if you have that die cutter. We are making 2 of everything tonight. And this is a really, really short clue. I say that, I better not jinx myself. Start running into problems if I talk about how easy it's going to be. Use my little thread tab in between steps. That way I can get all of my triangles. And there's only one we are going to press to fabric F, which happens to be this lighter dotty fabric. But I always want to pay attention to the pressing instructions so that later on my seams will nest in the direction that Cotton Cut says they should go. So I'm just finger pressing my units right now. And then they put these half square triangles together to make these parallelograms. If you look on my workspace, I've got the dark triangles sitting right next to each other. So that is a visual clue there that you've got things lined up correctly. And then these two aren't going to match, but they kind of make that gradient flow here when I put this one on the bottom, because we're going to have a tower here of our half square triangles. There we go. And we're just going to sew these together. I'm starting at the bottom of the tower. It doesn't really matter when you sew a row of 3 which end you start from. These all pressed up towards this top unit. Told myself that I was going to drink a lot more water tonight, because I've been on live streams before where I talk for the whole hour and realize I didn't take a drink of water, and that's not good out here in the desert. Hello, hello, Amanda. Good to have you here. And Lori hopped in. Thank you, thank you. Hit that like button. If you've got sewing friends, invite them over. And you'll have to remind me of first names for the quilting compound. Add to my roster. I know I've seen you in the chat on other channels. I just can't remember names. And Amanda's going to work on her Puzzle Mystery Quilt tomorrow. If you'll remember, a couple weeks ago, we got started on Clue 1 together. It was so nice having you live with me, Amanda. Hello, Joe. Nice to see you. If anyone else would like to join in, just send me an email and I can send you the invite. It's a great way if you're just getting started on your YouTube channel and want to take some of the nerves away of sewing on camera. And okay, hi, Jamie. Nice to see you. I'm going to write that down, because when you write things down, it goes deeper into your brain. And Katie is a night owl. You must be, because it's what, 6 hours ahead of Pacific time, 3 hours ahead of Eastern up there in Greenland. And I loved your video of going off sailing. What an adventure. Okay, and now we're doing our C's and D's. Isn't this just so pretty? Hibiscus are one of my favorite flowers. And I think that's what that represents. Okay, good, Katie. I did have the time conversion correct. But I'm dreading, I I think I'll have to look at the calendar, count how many more weeks I have of this nice 3-hour difference. Although I say that, I tend to like the 2-hour difference because Arizona doesn't change. So when everybody falls back and Arizona stays the same, I'll be on Mountain Time, when right now I'm on Pacific Time. Hey, Sean's in the house. Good to see you, dude. And I think everybody, at least in the United States, all our kids are back in school. It's after Labor Day. All the teachers are back, all my quilter teacher friends. Hope you have a great year, off to a good start. And I'm just reading Katie's about her trip, that they caught salmon and trout, and Nikolai got some hiking and video and pictures. Ooh, she's teasing us. They stumbled onto something no one seems to know about. I can't wait to hear about that. The remnants of a past civilization. Oh, wow. What a great adventure. I can't wait to see all of those pictures. So, yeah, something to look forward to. Oh, and Joe is saying kids are back in school tomorrow. So they got an extra long weekend with the Labor Day. Okay, so I was coming over because I'm grabbing a link for everybody that I'm going to put in the chat, because there is a really, really fun event going on. Called the Digital Spark Summit. And if you follow my podcast, you've heard me talk about the Paper and Spark spreadsheets that I use to track my business expenses. And she is hosting a podcast summit. It's all audio interviews and speakers. And they're talking about digital products. So if anyone has an Etsy shop, and, a lot of us will sell, fabric, fat quarter bundles, or scrap bags, mystery bags of fabric. But if you want to get into digital products, like I sell digital patterns. So all of that goes into creating and marketing and building an online business around these digital products. They can be ebooks, they can be, checklists or spreadsheets or all that kind of stuff. Check out the Digital Spark Summit. Free to listen to. She does have a membership program that she's promoting, but it's great information for anybody who is looking for a relatively easy side hustle. There's this whole idea in the online space about passive income that set it and forget it. And digital downloads are kind of passive because you create it once, you put the link out there, and then you really don't have to do a lot. Obviously, the links get broken sometimes, and there's customer service emails that need to happen, but it's not the same as making clothes to sell for somebody. So it can be a nice addition if you need just a little bit of extra cushion in your budget. Take a listen to the Digital Spark Summit, get some ideas about some digital products, and I'd love to see you in my Patreon community for the Quilting on the Side podcast if you're interested in other ways to make money from your quilting. Oh, Zaza doing chores there, washing dishes. Joe's sold digital products on Etsy. Are those patterns or something else? And Amanda's doing great building her business. You've got, I know you were teaching a beginner course. Was that in person, Amanda, or was that online? I keep saying I need to get my half rectangle triangle course going. And it's, I don't know what my mental block is, but it's a big one. Although I was just listening to someone who said there's a great mindset book called The Mountain Is You. Get out of your own way. Okay, Joe was selling digital paper crafts for journals. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Journaling prompts are great. I'd also like to get into like coloring books and journals. Maybe quilt memory books. Amanda did her course in person and she's working on digital right now. Good. Thank you, Amanda. She says that Quilting on the Side, the podcast I co-host, is her favorite for Quilting Biz, and she enjoyed this week's episode. Yeah, we talked all about book ideas, so that was fun. And Jamie found our podcast yesterday. So thank you so much for listening to those. You can find them on YouTube as well, or on your favorite podcast player. I've been driving back and forth across town to feed my brother-in-law's cat while he's out of town. And so I've got quality podcast time for the next couple weeks. Okay, so I'm caught up on chat and let's get back to sewing. Okay, so I've made my little pairs of squares, and I've got my tower of half square triangles. Nicely finger pressed. And then these are going, oh, they are. I need to, before I moan and groan about pressing, I need to check my fabric because this D is the watercolor. So we're going to press to the dark. I love it when that works out. Because when we spin our blocks around to make the 4-patch, then our seams nest, of course, and that's always the fun trick for quilters, is getting those seams to nest on your patchwork so that it lays nice and flat. Go. I was working on a block the other day, Monday, I guess. I'm putting the video together to come out this weekend. And I had to seam rip every single one of the units that I did for that block. It was just crazy. I was having a day. So it is nice to sit and sew some simple units and not have any problems. And Jack can go visit someone else. Sean, I am love this colorway. This dark fabric is so luscious, and the hibiscus, this print, my favorite flower. You did a great job. Sean, are you doing the 30 days of sewing in September? That is a fantastic goal. I am working on an October challenge, but it's not quite time to let you guys know about that yet. So you'll have to stay tuned. But it is, I've done I follow along with the pen and ink artists, and they do online events, Sketchtember and Inktober. And you can look back on my channel. I have done Sketchtember free motion quilting designs. So you can find that series. I haven't done a 30-day challenge in a long time. So I've got something fun planned for Inktober. But again, I am going to wait a couple weeks, and we'll talk about that another day. Okay, so when you lay out your next step, you want to make sure that your C fabric is in the correct place on the right as it touches the bottom rectangle. So I know it's backwards on the workspace camera. Katie, I thought I saw some short videos, YouTube shorts from both Sean and Tasha that they're doing daily sewing in September. It is National Sewing Month, so. And Sew a Jelly Roll Day is in September. So glad Moda jumped on that and created a holiday for us quilters. I will be celebrating that at my local quilt shop. So might have to come on live before and after to share the project with everybody here. Okay, so again, I'm making sure that my fabrics are in the right orientation and that C fabric is on the right as it touches the rectangle. And I opened up the whole big can of worms this week on my channel because I dove into the pre-wash debate. And I have to admit, I do not pre-wash. The majority of the time, I do not. I'm just too anxious to get sewing. I can't I can't wait to throw things in the wash and dryer and then iron and all that kind of stuff. But I do understand the sizing, chemicals, and all the stuff that things are treated with, along with the creepy crawlies that may hitch a ride during shipping. That people want to get rid of all that stuff as before they start sewing with their fabric. I totally get it. I just still can't really be bothered. So, okay. Now, see, this is where it kind of annoys me with the way we pressed, because this seam could go either way, and it's going up, and this seam is going up. So now you've got extra bulk on that side when it could have been flipped around, but maybe it'll nest on this other side, but this seam down here nests. So I guess I will be happy that one of the two is in my preferred direction. If you tune into these videos, that's my big complaint, is the pressing. And plus, it's harder for me to line up the seams when they're both going in the same direction. You have to get it right on the edge of that fold, and then, oh, I caught it. You can see my seam ended up right, my pin ended up right on the stitches. Yes, Amanda, I depend on the color catchers. But in the quilt that I excuse me, the quilt that I showed in the video about pre-washing, I did have some bleeding, and I could have sworn I threw some color catchers in, but maybe I didn't, because it was such an old quilt. But I guess I hadn't washed it right after I finished the quilt. So that's the other thing, is that I make so many quilts that are pattern samples, and a long time ago they would be samples for my mom's shop and that kind of thing. And so you don't always wash things before they hang up as a sample. So it's one of those things, and then it's years before they get thrown in the wash and you forget, and oh well. Yes, Katie, this is the Marina colorway. I'm so sorry you missed out. Jamie says corals and reds. Yeah, and purples and like this dark blue. I don't know. But like you said, color catchers. And like my t-shirt says, it's my mom's fault. She taught me to sew, and she was okay with me not pre-washing when I started quilting. So I figure if my mom never pre-washes, then I don't have to. But then again, I do a lot of things my mom doesn't do. So that's probably not the best test. And she did have one heartbreaking result. She had done a red, white, and blue quilt of valor that she did a lot of like paper pieced and curved blocks and stuff. And lots of tiny pieces, and the red bled into the white. And she was like, now I can't even donate it. So that was a bummer. Okay, here we go. One last seam for clue number 2. Yeah, I can see how this would have been right up your alley, Katie, with all the ocean themed stuff that must be around you guys in Greenland. I don't know if I told you, Katie, my uncle was an Air Force officer and he was stationed at Thule, and he sent me this little, carved bear kind of uh, tchotchke little figurine for my bedroom. I still have it. So I'll think of you now with my Thule bear. And that is all there is to the clue number 2. Just like that. I think we're going to have some spiky thing diagonals going. I remember similar type element in clue number 1. Okay, so like I said, I fold these up and yeah, Zaza, the pre-cuts are difficult, although lingerie bags are a good solution, or just soaking them in a tub of water. Um, if you're really concerned, and obviously I'm not. I do as I say, do as I do. Wait, yeah, do as I say, not as I do. um, and yeah, you don't want to mix the pre-washed and unwashed. And now I can't tell. So if at some point my fabric was washed and it was now in my stash, then I'm going to screw things up there. Okay. You'll have to explain, Katie. One Lonely Angelica, was that a I don't know what an angelica is. If that's a flower or a fish or thanks, Zaza. Gorgeous colored fabrics. I totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you, Sean, for not torturing me with something out of my comfort zone. Okay, so back in the box that goes. This is what you would get if you bought the pre-packaged kit, the whole thing at once. And those have all been sent out, so I don't think those are available. Oh, thank you, Zaza. The Angelica is a plant, so there's something for me to Google later. Increase my botanical knowledge. So yeah, buying the pre-cut kit means you've got the whole thing all together, and obviously I couldn't tell my right side from my wrong side and got everything labeled upside down because I like to keep track, since now I have multiple Cotton Cuts boxes. But I was also thinking that I haven't worked on my temperature quilt in quite a long time. So I am all set with my yellows for 80 degrees, which have been our low temperatures for all summer. Our 90s will be orange. We've had a few lows where it didn't cool off, and a few days in early June that were 90s. We haven't, everything else has been over 100. So lots and lots of red. And I should have changed. Yeah, I did pick a color for 120 and above. You know, everybody's heard that the highest temperature ever in Phoenix, Arizona was 122. And that was back in, I want to say 91, while I was in college. And they grounded all the airplanes at the airport because they didn't have data on if they would be able to take off in such extreme temperatures. So, yeah, I did choose a color because we've approached, and I probably should have like modified my scale, because once you get up to like 118, it's pretty dang hot, and I try not to go anywhere. But we had rain the other night, so I get to put another polka dot fabric in for my rainy days. And then, so yeah, we're going to get lots and lots of boring blocks that are all these orange and yellows, or so how did I do that? Hang on, I'm reading my scale wrong. Peach was the 90s. So these are my 80s, which were the low temperatures. And then my orange are my hundreds. So that's why I'm going to end up with so many orange and yellow blocks, is because that's the low temperature was in the 80s and the high temperature was in the hundreds. And then a few days, like someone was saying that it's just been really, really hot this summer. And I have the data right in front of me. There's only been a few back-to-back days of over, like we had a 4 days. Oh, no. Early August, we had a 9, 10, 11 day stretch of 110 and above. But last year we had like 20 plus days. We had a huge long stretch over 110. So it's been fascinating to do this temperature quilt and look at all the data. So with my half rectangle triangles, I always cut my triangles first. There is a method to do 2 at a time, but I haven't figured it out yet, because you have to draw a line and then angle, and it doesn't sit in my head for very long how that would work. But I just cut on the diagonal so I have triangles, and then I look for my mountain peaks. So I can just sew up a bunch of these. And I like to alternate my oranges so I don't end up with all the same. I need to get some more variety in my yellows, because I have this nice, almost woven texture on that fabric. And then I've got a lot of this batik buttery yellow. So I need to mix in a few of these brighter yellows. And I was looking through, I haven't dug in because I buried my yellow scrap bin beneath some other plastic containers, and I haven't dug it out again yet. It would be so nice to have one of those like dry cleaner conveyor belts where you could just push the button and then your bag of yellow scraps would come to your table, and then you could push the button and the next would be the reds. And oh, thank you, Zaza. So Becca has a cheat sheet for half rectangle triangles with different methods. You know, I do a pretty standard for me. All my patterns, or a lot of my patterns, are built around this one size. And I've told you before, that's why I developed my own ruler for it. And I'm getting kind of to the point where when I figure out one way that works, I'm not real interested in changing. I mean, I like to learn new things. We all do as quilters, but then once you've mastered the technique with one method, there's not a lot of incentive to learn a new method for something you're already skilled at, if that makes sense. So I try to just stick with my way of doing half rectangle triangles. And I do dabble a bit when I'm in a I don't know what kind of mood to call that, an experimental mood, then I will do a different method, because I did try the so Becca is talking about half square triangles. Yeah, no, mine are rectangles. So yeah, that's different. I know Fallon has a couple sizes of half rectangle triangle rulers with her special Solock rulers. But she doesn't do the same size I do. So it makes a difference. And Donnell is here. Hello, hello, Donnell. So yeah, that's the trick with half rectangle triangles, is you cannot interchange the rulers. If you've got a ruler that does a specific size, then you have to adapt your pattern to work with that size. But it's also easy to put some tape on a regular ruler and then not worry about it. So yeah, I'm going to have a lot of pressing and trimming to do here on this next step. I just wanted to get a few more of these units done. And we are looking forward to some more rain. I told you we had rain on Monday. And I think I might have missed some rain last week, because if it rains in the middle of the night, my car is parked in the garage, and so I won't even know that it rained overnight, unless it's a really big thunderstorm and it wakes me up, which doesn't usually happen because I'm a really sound sleeper. But occasionally the cat will jump on me in the, if she's scared of the thunder. So my rule for my quilt, when I add these polka dot pieces for rain, has been, I have to see it on my windshield. It doesn't matter if it was recorded at the weather station. If I see a raindrop on my windshield, then I'm going to put a rainy block in my quilt. So I was kind of worried that we're starting to get these late afternoon, evening storms, because they roll up from the Gulf of Mexico, and the way they call it monsoonal flow comes across Arizona counterclockwise. So it comes up from the southeast and drifts across Phoenix. Unfortunately, I am in the northwest corner, so if things are starting off down here, they kind of peter out. They hit our heat island. We've got too much concrete and city heat built up and it just blocks, and the thunderstorms don't usually come across. But we've had a pretty good system coming through, so occasionally it makes it all the way across the valley. And I'm sure you saw a couple weeks ago the dust storm, the haboob is what it's called, that rolls across occasionally in the monsoon season. You definitely stay inside. If you get caught out on the road, pull over, turn your lights off, and just sit and wait it out. It's like flooded roads. Don't go across. But we have a hurricane coming up, Hurricane Lorena, up the coast of Mexico, and all the weather forecasts have that impacting most of Arizona, and it could cause flash flooding. So we've got to be really careful because the desert, obviously, it doesn't take much to get saturated, and then it just flows. Oh my goodness, Zaza, hot and dry in Scotland. Yeah, that would be um, unusual. I remember I was in England one summer for a brief period, and they kept, before we left, everybody's like, oh, it rains every day. The whole time we were there, it didn't rain once. Everybody was like, oh, well, unusual. Yeah, Donnell is a heavy sleeper. Her husband says a tornado could take away the house and she'd never wake up. Yeah, I blame my military background. We learned to sleep anywhere that we were sitting still. So, oh wow, it was raining up in Greenland. So yeah, some people are getting the storms. Always where it's not needed quite as much. And the wish is, oh, send it my way, and it sounds like people are trying to do that, scientists, with that cloud seeding thing that always kind of creeps you out, that perhaps we shouldn't mess with Mother Nature. So talking about pre-washing, I also have a really bad habit of cutting before I iron, and so then I end up with scraps like this that are a little bit tricky to sew together. Do as I say, not as I do. So I started recording temperatures on my spreadsheet to get all caught up, but I haven't gone back to do my color coding because my daughter stole my markers. Didn't steal. She asked nicely and borrowed them. So I need to make sure. She also has a very, very bad habit of grabbing my tape measure, my fabric tape measure from off my long arm. And then she doesn't put it back. She keeps it in her room, in her desk. And then I go to load the next quilt and have to measure something, and I don't have my tape measure. So at least she bought her own pair of big, heavy silver scissors, so I can't accuse her of stealing my fabric scissors anymore. She knew to get her own pair. Oh, Zaza, if she's anything like my daughter, I'll never see them again. At least I know, and when I ask her, oh yeah, sorry, Mom. But I don't know what she's doing that she needs the tape measure for. I don't know. She's started instead of taking her old clothes to the Goodwill, she's got some Debo. Is that what it's? I don't know what the app is called. The reselling app. And she sold her some of her old Converse tennis shoes and stuff. So whatever, you take care of that. Lori, I am doing horizontal for my temperature quilt. So it goes like this. This is June. So the lower portion is the low temperature and the upper corner is the high temperature for the day. So I've gotten behind. This is only the first week of June, and here we are, September already. And I've got things started for here's the rest of June, that I need to mix in a couple of these red and yellow. So it's time to cut some more fabrics. I've sewn up all my yellow triangles. The sewing is the fastest step of everything. It's the most fun, and it's the shortest part of the process. So I've got my little chain here of triangles to turn into my June, July, and August. So I will keep working on that and be back here next Wednesday. We will switch gears and work on Flyway on the second week of the month. And then I will come back to my temperature quilt for the third week. And then I may add in another some other different project as the weeks go by. I like to mix things up for you, so we're not always doing the same thing. But yeah, it's been wonderful to hang out with everybody. I'm going to sign off now and hope everybody has a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you for our next Sew and Chat every Wednesday. Take care.